So my 3 most used and favourite impact drills. Let's start what I call impact feel. So this is a great way to start if you're not even sure where the correct impact is. This little exercise is going to help you understand where impact is and, more importantly, feel, possibly for the first time, what impact is like. So the first thing I'm going to do is just going to take a setup with a mid-iron just inside this golf ball. And this would be my setup. Now, the club rests on the ground, but if I was to move the club forwards or back or up, there's no resistance from the ground. The only resistance from the ground is if I was to try and push the club down, and you can see how I'm able to put some bend in the club shaft. That's setup. Impact, we want to try and find that resistance in a different direction. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to take my address and I'm going to push my hips towards the target. As you can see, that's quite a bit. I'm going to add in a little bit of rotation. How much rotation you're able to add will depend a little bit on your individual body and flexibility. And we're going to move the handle a little bit forwards. Notice how throughout all that, the head has stayed really still. So from this position, which is now we're going to call impact, there's still no resistance back or up, but there is still a resistance down. But now if I try to move the club towards the target, well, now suddenly the ground is getting in the way. And you can see how as I try to move the club forwards, the club shaft is bending. I'm really feeling that on the knuckle of my trail hand, really feeling like I'm applying pressure to the back side of the grip through that knuckle. And you can see how I'm able to bend that club shaft. Now, if I was in this position with speed, the club would be going into the ground, and that's where we get a divot from. But if you notice where the contact point with the ground is, it's where the ball is. So without moving my head, I can go from a position where there's no resistance to a position where there is some resistance. And that is a great little exercise for any of you out there who are struggling with impact, just to start to recognize this is where you should be. 3 things: forwards with the hips, open with the hips, forwards with the hands. Those are your key points. And from there, that's how you feel the correct impact. Now, there's nothing to stop you just taking it on a stage and just hitting a little shot that might go 20, 30 yards. This ball will probably end up in these ferns, or I'll probably lose this golf ball. And we're really looking to make a shorter swing as possible here. The reason for that is the longer swing that I make, I'm going to end up more into a normal backswing position. We're trying to actually hit this shot, keeping our body shape in this impact condition. And I'm really focusing on landing the club into the ground, really key. And that's almost the mental battle, is actually convincing yourself that hitting the ground is okay and it's what we need to do. So let me show what that looks like. Feel impact, and then just land the club on the ground. I've lost that ball, but that was perfect. That's our first drill, impact feel. So for our second little exercise, we're looking to add a little bit of speed, trying to generate some power, trying to put a little bit more flow and movement into it. I've got myself an impact bag. I use this all the time. This is the Tour Striker one. I appreciate you might not have something like this, but get a little creative. This is just filled with towels and old curtains and sheets. So you could just create a little creative, maybe use an old pillow or an old pillowcase and just stuff it with something. You can use it as an impact bag. So we're really looking at now the movement of the body from, let's say, a half backswing position, and how we move into the position that we've just rehearsed, we've just felt. Those of you out there really struggling with impact are going to be very handsy. And I want to show you 2 demonstrations here. One is where I'm going to hit the bag within reason as hard as I can, but feel that's just with my hands. And then one where I'm really starting to utilize the body. So let me do that for you. I'm just going to hover the club into the middle of the bag, and I'm going to hit this pretty hard with my hands. Okay, bag moved a little bit forwards. Let's do that again. And again, the bag moved a little bit forwards. Lots of hands, lots of arms. That might be what many of you are doing. This time, I'm still going to use some hands and arms, but I'm really going to focus on shifting and rotating my lower body. And just watch the difference here. Well, it rolled back, but the bag did actually roll over. So let me show you that again. Set up. This time I'm going to use a little bit of body, a little bit of turn. And again, that bag rolls over, but it rolls back again. So because the bag is moving further forwards, there's more energy going through it. And there's more energy going through it because I'm utilizing my legs and my rotation. What's really interesting is that for many golfers, they can't actually roll the bag over because they're using lots of hands. The good golfers, the ones who understand impact, can actually roll the bag over with one hand because they realise that the energy and the power is coming from the legs, it's the lower body. So this is a great little exercise. You just hold the club in one hand and you'll realise that you have to, from here, shift, rotate, and it's that movement, as you can see, that starts to energise the club. Yes, I'm going to be using some hands and arms to put some speed into the club down and impact, but it's got to be supported by what the body's doing. It's no good if we just get kind of hands. That's where we get these really horrible impacts. So this is our second little exercise. Rolling that bag over with one hand. Third drill, line drill. I've done this drill so many times, but I make no apologies. This is possibly the best drill that you can do for striking your irons. The first two exercises we've done should help you understand where impact is and how to get there. There's a variable that is often thrown in there, but we can't see it. It's in there, it's in your mind, what you think and how you react. Very often, when we get golfers to move more forwards and have the weight forward, everything about that movement dictates that they will hit the ground. But what they often find is that their head gets in and they start to pull away from the ground because they've just got a history of hitting poor shots every time the club makes contact with the ground. What we've done so far means that the contact will be later. So the divot will be after the ball, that's what we want. So we have to change that mindset and say now, with the right movements in there, hitting the ground is a good thing. This is really going to help with that. So the idea here is, you can see I've put a line on the ground. I did that with just a couple of alignment sticks, and I've placed a couple of golf balls on that line. What I'm really looking to do now is set up to this golf ball and almost try and ignore the fact that the ball is there. I am literally trying to, from the top of my swing, achieve that impact position that I've worked on, that I felt, that I've understood, and just land the club on that line and take a divot target side of the line. If I do that, the ball will get hit first. It'll be a good shot. But we're not looking at the ball, and we're certainly not trying to avoid the ground, because you're now making a movement which will take a divot. What we don't want you to do is counteract that with what you do with your hands, because your sort of mind jumps in there. So, yes, there's a ball there, but that is not my focus. My focus is, can I land the club on that line? And that divot started just after the line. So perfect. I've kind of hit the ball and the divot was after the line. Now that wasn't the best strike, but the result was pretty good. It was slightly thin because my divot actually started a little bit too late. But the line gives me that feedback straight away. I can look down, see what happened. But if I'm working on strike, that's actually a really good thing, because many of you will be landing the club too soon due to, poor impact position. At least I shifted forward, the handles forward, I hit the ground much later. So what I can do is shift into this next golf ball and see if I can make some improvements to that. And that one, pretty similar. Divot was just after the line, strike was pretty good, but that third drill is brilliant. I'd urge everybody to do that. So 3 drills, my favourite drills, to help you strike those irons better than you've ever struck them before.